Hi, I'm Una. I'm the dating fairy. I think we're live now. Thank you for joining us. Okay, I think we're doing this. It shows that I have 0 viewers. I thought that I had at least 1, but we'll see what happens here. So today in this broadcast, my intention was to go over how to connect with other people who share similar interests. First of all, I want to introduce Joe, who's my boyfriend. Hello.
Hi.
And it was kind of in some ways interesting how we met, because both of us have very okay, there, all right. Both of us, I think you could say, have very interesting or somewhat unusual interests and backgrounds.
Most certainly.
Yeah. And so I feel really lucky to have met you, and I feel like it was kind of not necessarily like an obvious thing.
Certainly not.
Yeah. And so that takes us to the number 1 tip on my list. All right. So this is my list here. All right. Number 1 is online dating. Number 2 is meetups and local events. And number 3 is leadership. So that just gives you an idea of where we're going with this. We would never have met if it wasn't for online dating.
No.
So I think if you are someone who has some unusual interests, anything that takes you outside of the mainstream, if you are a geek freak or an aspie, basically, then you need to put yourself into a situation where you can funnel from many people and help select the people that you're going to have the most in common with. And it's still honestly probably going to be a somewhat difficult process, but I like how you just put yourself completely out there. When we first met, on your profile, you were really, really open about some things that I don't know if you would necessarily, say those in if you were at a cocktail party or something.
No, my tagline was meant to discourage anybody who wasn't going to be down with who I am. Mm-hmm. So psychic metal nerd,
Yeah, and when I read through your profile, I immediately thought, okay, either this person is completely crazy, or I'm gonna really, really enjoy meeting them. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna know within about 15 minutes of meeting this person and one-on-one.
Did you?
Yes, and I really enjoyed meeting you. So. So thank you for being brave and putting yourself out there. And I think at that time I was trying to be a lot more kind of coded in how I put myself out there, which I think there's some people feel more comfortable with that. But
I would have known any better. I don't know well enough to be coded.
Okay. Anyway, so for the purposes for our viewers, I think online dating, if you use the right sites and use the right techniques that I can share with you, basically you will get put in touch with thousands, potentially even millions of potential dates of people who fall into your age ranges that you're looking for, areas that you're looking for, etc. And then you can search for keywords, search for similar interests, etc. to find what you're looking for and to find people who have similar interests and similar worldview to you. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So online dating is a great tool. Do you have anything else to add to that? Or?
I thought you were brave for including the picture of you at the pyramids, which for me was the deal closer.
Oh.
When I saw you at the pyramids, I was like, here's somebody I want to know.
Cool. Yeah. Well,
regardless of what happens, I just wanted to know what was going on there.
Yeah. Well, and I always think that it's good to include photos that show a little bit of personal interest for you, you know. And travel is always awesome, especially because it's a conversation starter. It's an automatic conversation starter. And like for me, honestly, one of the things that I think started our conversation online was your tattoo. And I saw your tattoo and I was like, it just made me think that maybe there was something a little bit more there. And then obviously there was, you know, and so we started, you know, conversation and everything. So I know a lot of people, yes. So a lot of people, when they are putting themselves online, there's a couple things that I run into frequently with clients. One, they want to make it too much like a resume. They want to make it too businessy, and they just strip all of their personality away, and they're afraid to put their real selves out there. And for someone who is used to being made fun of for what their interests are or how they are as a person, that can be understandable. But I advocate for being brave, because the idea in putting yourself out there is that you want to put enough of yourself out there that someone who does resonate with who you are and who is interested in who you are can find you and can start up a conversation. So the other thing that I often run into with clients are the clients who put all of their insecurities out first. So they put all the things that they think they're going to be rejected for, and they just use their online dating profile as kind of like a sounding board, like, oh, well, you can reject me for this, you can reject me for that, you can reject me for this. And they're almost daring someone to get through those layers of insecurities to actually find them. And that's not really the best approach. People are attracted to confidence, and you do want to put your best foot forward because that's confident. And you want to be really okay with who you are, and let that show in your profile. Now, having self-confidence, especially in social situations, can be difficult for people who are used to being made fun of or used to feeling less than, especially in social situations. So that's where some personal coaching, honestly, can be really helpful in a lot of cases, because overcoming the insecurities or even recognizing the insecurities can be kind of a challenge. However, in my opinion, basically everybody has something to offer. And usually we're not the best at seeing those things in ourselves. So it really helps to have kind of a third party sometimes to point out what our really good qualities are, so that we can be confident about ourselves and help other people see those too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let me see if I have any questions. I don't know if anyone's asked any questions here. Hold on. My questions are far from completely formed and still. Okay. Well, if I know it looks like we do have a viewer, so if you do have any questions, please feel free to just put it in the chat box. I would love to answer any questions that you have.
So
let me get back to.
Can't make worse choices though. That's interesting.
Yeah. I guess, okay, so you say that I wish my questions are far from complete form. I am still in the I can't make worse choices phase. I would love to know more about that. I guess like if we were to sit down and actually have like a real conversation, I would love to know more specifics, because then I'd be able to help you more, with specific advice. So if you want to write anything else in, please do. More than happy to go into that in depth. But in lieu of that, we can just go on to number 2, which is meetups and local events. So online dating is awesome. And in my dating fairy work, I do teach people how to use online dating most effectively, especially if they're looking for very narrow categories of things. Because the fact is that most people don't meet enough people in their daily life, especially people who are similar to them. The numbers just don't support meeting someone who is a suitable, life partner or, date for most people. We just don't meet enough people. If you, though, want to increase your chances of meeting people who are similar to you and meeting people that you can really connect with, you should try going to things like meetups. Like meetup.com has a lot of activities and groups for people who share similar interests and like to do similar things to meet in person. And of course, local events. I know a lot of people in the Seattle area, especially in spiritual circles, like to go to, classes and events, like at East West Bookstore. But of course, there's all sorts of other, sports teams. Honestly, my cousin met her now husband playing softball. Just little things that people like to do.
The point is to be out there.
Yeah, exactly. The point is to be putting yourself out there, to show up, because that's so important to take the time, whether it's to show up to a date or whether it's to show up to an event where you have at least a chance of meeting other people. The fact that you get yourself ready, you comb your hair, put on a clean shirt, and just get out the door and show up in a way that you're open to meeting other people and you're open to being seen and you're open to connection. That's really, really important. I do talk to a lot of people who complain that they just haven't met the right person. But when you talk to them in a little bit more depth, you ask, well, how many new people are you, say, meeting every week or every month? And in a lot of cases, that number is 5 or 10 or less, they're just in the same circles, the same people that they see at work, the same people that they socialize with, the same people that they run into at the grocery store or whatever. And that's not going to help you. That's just not statistically going to help you meet someone who you can most likely form a real connection with. So you've got to be putting yourself out there ideally putting yourself out there in a way where you're going to meet people who have some stuff in common with you. Now, if you are someone who shares some interest in, say, the paranormal or UFOs or some sort of kind of unusual type interest, the chances of you meeting someone like that at Safeway or your local I don't know, QFC or whatever grocery store or whatever you go to, it's just not that good. But if you find a meetup where you can specifically go to talk to other people who share similar interests, at least the likelihood is a little bit higher that some of them are going to be single and some of them might be of the right gender and the right sexual orientation and age. Exactly. Yeah. Where you might conceivably want to go on a date with them. So, and also I think psychologically there is something to be said for just putting yourself out there, just doing what it takes, like I said, to get ready and show up. Because even if you just make a few friends at an event that you share some interest in, well, maybe they know somebody, or maybe they, say, hey, my cousin is kind of into this, and, I think you might hit it off with her, blah, 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 but I mean, in expanding your social circle and your social network can really facilitate changes in your, facilitate positive changes in your social trajectory, basically.
Yeah, if you're in a place where things aren't working out, it is always a good time to roll the dice about your situation. If you can't change who you are and how the world responds to you, change where in the world you are. Change the relational circumstances. Yeah. There's always some kind of power you can take, almost always.
Absolutely.
If you're in women's prison, we can't help you, but
right. Yeah. Exactly. And honestly, I went through a phase in my life where I had very few friends, and this was quite a number of years ago. But there was a phase when I had always, growing up and stuff, I'd always felt socially awkward, and there was a number of years when I just had very, very, very few friends. And I realized that the people that even I counted as my friends were not treating me well. I remember one person in particular, I counted her as one of my closest friends, but she started taking like 2 weeks or more to call me back. And I was like, that's not the treatment of someone who really cares about me. And I'm putting way more into this relationship. And there were other ones as well that I was putting in way more energy into the relationship and getting hardly anything back. And I had to go through kind of an audit at a certain point and realize that I need better friends. And that was really scary to realize the situation that I was actually in, where I had very, very little social support around me. But it made me wake up and realize that I need to find people who appreciate who I am and who will share my interests and who can echo back to me respect, because I wasn't getting that in my life. And I did find that through meetup.com. And first it was just through friendships, and then I had the confidence and the social support around me to find, a love relationship, that was equal and supportive and loving and affectionate and respectful, etc. That's super important. And but sometimes it has to start with just finding people and putting people around you who are willing to show you that support and affection that you wish was just always there. But for a lot of us, just the reality is it's not. So, all right. So it looks like we got some sort of question here. What is this? I just seem to end up picking the completely wrong person, at least historically speaking. Okay. Well, I guess.
End up picking up.
Picking the completely wrong person.
I see end up picking the completely wrong person, but this is a matter of decision making, like ego versus actual self kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I guess without knowing more specifics, it's kind of hard to say too much. But But yeah, I mean, yeah, ego versus heart connection is, I think, really, really important. I think when we're stuck too much in the ego, we can pick a person that we think has the qualities that we're looking for, we think will make us look good, or we think will reflect back to us the things that we want. But if that actual heart connection isn't there, then it's not going to ultimately work. It's just it's a sham. I mean, wouldn't you say that?
Absolutely. It's hard to say more unless we get an actual question. But,
right.
I mean, this is a situation, but it's a situation I can sympathize with for sure. I'm a person that has boundary issues sometimes, and so I've definitely been in the position where I've been in social situations where I felt compelled to be here or there or with this person or that person. But that was more of an issue of me letting the culture dictate to me what I did rather than learning to come from a more kind of yang outlook on things. About, kind of projecting what I'm trying to do into the world less than, it's about taking more of a speaking aspect than a listening aspect, but from the heart, not from a place of ego. Everybody knows the person who, from a place of ego, who's always waiting for the chance to speak and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's really well put. Yeah, and I've had similar issues in the past where learning about boundaries and dealing with other people's expectations of me versus what I sense was right for me has been a really hard learning process.
That's what I was looking for. It's about knowing what's right for you.
Yeah.
But knowing it in the place that you speak from in your heart, and letting that show. Because you can know something, but maybe if it doesn't shine, nobody else knows it about you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think you have to have the confidence within yourself and the solidity within yourself to be able to identify what's right for you, because I know
that's very true.
Quite a number of years ago, I really wasn't sure what was right for me. I was so used to taking on what other people said I should want, or what I should be like, or what my life should be like, that it took a long time and a lot of introspection to understand what was the real truth for myself. And then even once I recognized that, having the courage and knowing how to put that out and live it in my life, that was a whole learning process in itself,
Yeah. Then I just reread this sentence though and had another horrible thought.
Oh, sure.
What if this is a person who keeps picking like a pattern of abusive relationships or something like that? Then we're talking about a totally different dynamic. That's why more specifics are really helpful.
Yeah.
Because this could mean a lot of different things. But say this is a person who keeps picking abusive people, who are always very charismatic on the outset, and they seem to have everything put together until you get in deep, and then and all that business unfolds.
Yeah. Well, I think in a sense, even in that situation, that goes again back to knowing what's right for you and having the yeah, I mean, that can be really hard to.
That's where you're in repeating a pattern kind of stuff. Where your sense of normal is skewed.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to backtrack, because I know my sense of normal is god awful. And I'm constantly working on that. It's very painful.
Yeah.
To work on your sense of normal, because that means a lot of what you've done that you thought was normal, you have to reevaluate.
Right.
And that's a whole difficult situation.
Yeah.
As I live every day.
Yeah. And I know that I went through a process of that too. I mean, and honestly, it took a number of not so awesome relationships to get to the point where I could build a sense of self-respect and also could evaluate what was good, what was better, what was bad, you know. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I guess I can't answer the question without more information. But
I think we've done a good job talking about the issue.
yeah. Okay, so the last one is leadership, and we just have a few more minutes in the podcast or the hangout here. Hey, and so I guess the last thing I'm going to say is, you know, if you have been putting yourself out there, you know, online, and you have been putting yourself out there and showing up to meetups and local events and things like that, and you're still not finding what you're looking for, sometimes you could take that as a call to actually become a leader in your community or in whatever the interest area is that you have, you know, that you feel is, say, lacking in your environment. You can always step up and become a leader, and in a sense, then you become the nucleus of a community that can form around you, where you are, you know, providing providing the events, providing the space for people to come and connect around the issues that you care about. I know one woman who actually had a meetup group that I joined, and it was really, really a positive influence in my life. And she actually met her now husband that way. She had this meetup group. She ran it for several years, and her now husband was someone who just came to the meetup group, and they hit it off. I know that sort of thing happens, you know, a fair amount. And you know, I myself, I didn't found the Seattle UFO Network, but I did become a main leader for it pretty early on. And although I didn't meet Joe through that, it's been really positive for me in my life in connecting with many, many other people who share my interests and my passions. And you know, that it's just been a fabulous resource to connect with other people around issues and topics that I really care about. So sometimes you need to heed that call and just step up to the plate and provide what you're not getting other places, because most likely someone else isn't getting that too, you know, and they'll be drawn to what you have to offer, because maybe you need to be that voice in the community to connect with other people who are similar.
Someone's got to be the first to bark.
Yeah, absolutely. So I hope that helps. Thank you for watching this, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.